to be cutting some meat that my wife and I will be consuming over the course of a month, or maybe longer, or maybe shorter, depending how hungry we are. My work had a sale for prime meat, and that's one of the best meats you can get for the price. And most prime meat has a lot of marbling. This is prime tri-tip. And this is prime New York, and maybe you can see or not, but it has a ton of marbling, which is fat inside the muscle, which makes it taste so much better. Shall we? First, we have to remove the bag. Very simple. When you remove the bag, you should remove it from a part you know you're not going to eat, because you're going to make a bad steak. So there's a lot of fat right here. There may be a lot of blood, but this is the best way to save money for your family. Yes, you spend more money at the beginning for the first time, but if you were to buy this amount of steaks for, someone already cut it for you, you're gonna spend a lot more money. So one thing you should do, if you're familiar with meat, is any bone material, you want to take that off. You don't have to go so deep, you can just go underneath it, and most of the time it'll peel right off. Then you can tell because it's shiny, and it will also be hard. You do not have to remove all this fat, but a lot of people don't like to eat so much fat. I try to be careful to only remove the bad stuff. If you're really good, then you can see the bone connective tissue. And on the back side should be white with very little red. That way you're maximizing your yield, the amount of food you get to eat. But you also must remember that with a fatty piece of meat, that it's going to shrink when you cook it. It's going to cook down. And someone I know always said that if you do not remove this piece that I'm taking off, you can chip your tooth because it's so strong. So it's not a race. You can take care of it how you need. If it's shiny like this little piece right here, it's bone, and you want to remove it. So everything feels good. Except for this piece on the corner. Now I know it's gone. That little piece right there. So I'm ready to cut it into sticks. Now the nice part about cutting it into steaks when you have a big piece is you can cut it how thick you want it. If you buy it at a store, like say Costco for instance, they try to sell 1.5 or more in thickness. But since we like our meat to last longer, go 1/2 inch. Well, that's the first cut. There's still more work to be done, but prime meat has a lot of marbling, and that's what you look for. At this point, with my job, we will not sell this steak. But they don't want to sell it because it looked ugly, a lot of fat on the inside. But what I like to say is, fat is where the flavor is at. And some of it's gonna cook away anyway. This for the dog. Then also, this last piece, you want to be careful. You can still eat it because it's edible, but there's a big piece of bone right here. So you have to cut at an angle and remove it. Got to chip a tooth. It did not cut far enough, so it's best to take off a little bit instead of a lot, because you cannot glue it back on. So we can just remove that piece. You can put it in a grinder, cook it for your dog, or make some stew meat for a nice soup or stew. Now I'm going to cut off the part you normally do not eat, and you will hear most people call it gristle. So now on all the steaks, I'm gonna remove off the piece that you do not eat. And this part really fatty, so I'm not sure I'm gonna keep it, but this side does not look so horrible. So I'm just gonna take it off. Can use it for stew meat. My work would say cut off all the fat so it's a 1/4 inch all the way around. Both sides. So cut at an angle so it looks good. Next. So we stand up the steak, pull it back, and just cut into it to get past this gristle. If you ever feel like you're chewing bubble gum for a long time, it's because you're eating the gristle on the steak, and they did not cut it for you properly. Me personally, when I cut my meat, I like to seal it because it will last longer, and you package it for your family or yourself. If you think too much fat, take it off. Because when you grill it, it's gonna start a fire, and then you're gonna burn your meal. Now I'm going to use professional sealer. That way it gets out 100% of the air, and any meat that I cut will not become freezer burned or have a weird taste. And now it's sealed. No air inside. This one is for stew meat. So the same amount of meat right here, if buy from a butcher, is probably going to be double to what I paid for just buying one single piece of meat and doing the work myself. Now I will be cutting some tri-tip into roasts. This one has more blood inside, so it's better to open it over the sink. So when you buy tri-tip, there could be 4 in a bag, 5 in a bag, 6 in a bag, 7 in a bag. But depending on your family, sometimes it's better to buy a small bag, or your budget also. Sometimes better to buy a small bag to where it will last you long enough, but also not so expensive. So right now, this one is 8.5 pounds, and it's already peeled, so it's not going to have a ton of exterior fat, but it's also a good quality. It's prime, so it's going to have a lot of fat on the inside and a lot of flavor. And tri-tip, you can leave most of the fat on, but there is some silver skin that you want to take off, and also some gristle back here. You can tell it's gristle because it's shiny, and it's kind of like where the bone connects, or this muscle connects to another muscle. That's a tendon. And you just take that off with as much care as possible, to where you're only taking off the gristle and not the meat. So you can see there's gristle, and only a little bit of red meat came off. If you're gonna cook it right now, you could maybe give it to your dog and he'd be happy. So these ones do not have a lot to remove. And then on the back, sometimes there's like an eyeball, but this one has what you call pasteurization, and you don't want to eat that, so it's got to come off. And you just want to take off very little, just enough to remove all the brown meat. Got it all. There's not much to remove. There's a little bit of silver skin right here, and maybe a little too much fat. So I'm just gonna peel ever so slightly what you don't want to eat off. Or you can leave it, because most of it's gonna cook off anyway, depending on your style of cooking. This little hard corner also should come off. And that's it. And take off as little red meat as possible. So again, taking off the fat, you don't want to take off too much red meat. That's the good part. And the silver skin, you should always start on this side so you can get under it. And once you get under it, you can peel it away. Again, not taking off red meat, or as little red meat as possible. You don't have to take off 100%, but the real thick stuff you definitely want to take off. It's cheaper this way to buy 4 tri-tip. If you buy 2 tri-tip that are already cut and processed for you, it's gonna be about the same price as buying a bag and cutting it for yourself. After a little bit of work and spending a little bit of money. It's easier to prepare your own foods for your meals, package it to the amount you need, and the best part about it is you learn something new, but also it's easier to take care of your family by keeping food at your house all the time. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you learned something about cutting meat and possibly better taking care of your family by keeping food at home and not going to the grocery store so often. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you, and bye.